Okay, so when I say the name King Herod, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Probably a ruthless king, right? A tyrant of, well, biblical proportions. And yeah, for good reason. His name is basically a synonym for a reign of terror.
I mean, he's pretty much the villain of the Christmas story. But is that the whole story? What if I told you that the same paranoid king who ordered, some truly unspeakable things was also this incredible visionary builder, a patron of the arts? It sounds crazy, right? So let's dig in and see what's going on here.
Right, we're going to try to untangle all of this. The man, the myth, and, yeah, the monster. Who was this guy, really? And how did he end up becoming one of the most infamous figures in all of history?
Okay, let's start with the absolute basics. Herod, who, by the way, is often called the Great, was a Roman client king. Now, this part is so important. It means his power wasn't inherited. He didn't win it from his own people. Nope, it was handed to him, propped up by Rome itself. So, yeah, that made him super powerful, but it also made him incredibly insecure all the time. And he ruled Judea like this for more than 30 years, from 37 BCE to 4 BCE.
So you hear the Great, but history has another nickname for him, a much darker one, the Great Persecutor. And that kind of tells you everything, doesn't it? It shows just how much his reputation for violence has completely overshadowed everything else he ever did. But here's the thing, that the Great title wasn't just for show. It points to this whole other side of him, the side that we usually forget.
So how exactly does someone get a nickname like the Great Persecutor? Well, his path to the throne was anything but straightforward. You could say it was paved with a ton of shady political deals and some very powerful friends.
And this right here, this explains his whole situation perfectly. He wasn't even Judean by birth. He was born Tigranes III of Armenia. Think about that. As a total outsider, he couldn't just count on people being loyal to him. He had to earn his legitimacy, or, build it, or just take it by force. This outsider status, honestly, it's the key to understanding everything about him. It's what fueled both his incredible ambition and his really, really deep paranoia.
Just look at this timeline. It's like a masterclass in political climbing. In just 3 years, he goes from being a co-regent to the one and only Rome-backed ruler of Judea. It was fast, it was calculated, and it worked. It landed him a 33-year reign that was completely built on two things: Roman support and his own absolute power.
But, absolute power, that's where the story starts to get really messy. This is where you see the central contradiction of Herod's entire rule come into focus. It's a story of terror and temples, of brutality and beauty, literally existing side by side. And look, there is no way to sugarcoat this. Paranoia was the engine that drove his entire reign. But it wasn't just random madness. It was this cold, calculated fear. The fear of an outsider king who knew deep down that his grip on power was hanging by a thread. He saw threats absolutely everywhere, because, from his point of view, they were everywhere.
If you want to get a sense of the scale of his cruelty, just look at this number: 10,000. In 37 BCE, the very same year Rome officially recognized him as king, he had an estimated 10,000 Idumeans executed. He kicked off his rule with a message that was crystal clear and unbelievably brutal. If you're loyal to me, you'll be fine. If you're not, you will be annihilated.
And this wasn't just a one-time thing. Not at all. It was a pattern. He systematically just wiped out anyone he even thought might be a rival. His paranoia was so intense that he even had his own son, Alexius, executed for supposedly plotting against him. His own son. And then, of course, there's the most infamous story of all, from the New Testament, ordering the execution of all male children under 2. I mean, that's the ultimate act of a king who will do literally anything to hold on to his throne. But, and this is the wild part, at the exact same time he was doing all these horrific things, he was taking that same ruthless ambition and channeling it into something completely different. Something that just seems to make no sense next to all the violence.
Okay, this really lays it all out. On one hand, you have the tyrant, ruling through fear, and on the other, the builder. And this wasn't just some side hobby. His building projects were a political weapon. See, as an outsider, he couldn't claim legitimacy through his bloodline, so he decided to build it out of stone. He started schools and libraries to look like this sophisticated, enlightened ruler. And then there was his masterpiece, the crown jewel, the rebuilding of the Great Temple in Jerusalem. It was this absolutely breathtaking structure, a massive gesture to try and win over the Jewish people and prove he was one of them. It was his way of cementing a legacy that his family name never could.
So, what are we supposed to do with a guy like this? Seriously, how do you even begin to unpack a legacy that is this complicated, this contradictory?
I think the most important thing to remember is that you have to hold both truths in your head at the same time. He was a creator and a destroyer. The exact same paranoia that drove him to murder his rivals was the very same drive that pushed him to create architectural wonders. Both the terror and the temples, they came from the exact same place, the desperate, never-ending fight of an outsider trying to carve out his place in history.
And his impact? Oh, it's undeniable, and it's got so many layers. Politically, he reshaped Judea for generations to come. The amazing buildings he left behind, they're basically giant monuments to his power and his ambition. And the real irony? His brutal attempts to crush any opposition are the very things that cemented his reputation as an enemy of faith. He ended up being remembered for the one thing he fought so hard to control.
Which brings us right back to the big question, doesn't it? Builder or butcher? I mean, can a person be both? It really makes you ask a tough question. How should history judge a leader who creates and kills in basically equal measure? Where do you even draw the line between greatness and monstrosity?